Welcome to another edition of Gopher Football Weekly with head coach PJ Fleck. I'm Mike Grimm along with Justin Gaard. Guardsy and I wearing matching sweatshirts today was not planned. And, we always have to talk about the wardrobe to start. Guardsy, you're looking good at the home base there.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. I won a wager with a couple of people at Gopher Digital Productions. Will Grimm comment on attire right out of the gate? You did it. I had to bet a lot to win a little, but I got it. So thank you, because it was a heavy favorite that you were going to bring up wardrobe right out of the chute.
You took the money line, and it paid off.
I did,
Coach,
yes, sir.
PJ Fleck always looks good. He's got his Nike quarter zip going. And, Coach, let's first of all, good to see you. And how's your Monday and Tuesday going here so far early in the week?
It's going elite. Thank you very much.
Let's rewind just a moment to Friday night, where the offense was able to move the football most of the game until late. And then the defense, I think, struggled really from the get-go right up through the overtime period. So I want to start on that side of the football and get your thoughts now, breaking down film and kind of what you see and what is going on defense here through 2 weeks.
Well, the guys are playing really hard. We knew that this would be an inexperienced defense. We said that all along. I mean, you guys have all said it, all the question marks on defense and who's going to do this and who's going to do that. And when you don't have an offseason to be able to develop those young guys, I think people with experienced defenses benefit a little bit more. But guys are playing extremely hard. They're in the right positions. We're just not making plays. And that's simple as that. One guy to make a tackle. We're not swarming to be able to bring them down. There's times that we have, and we look pretty good. We're just not consistent enough. And usually when you have an inexperienced side of the ball or inexperienced team, that consistency is what lacks. Offensively, I thought we moved the ball really well, especially being down so quickly. I thought our offense kept their poise until the last 3 drives to be able to finish a game. And like I said, this year you're finding out what your team can and cannot do. How can you finish a game? I thought we could finish the game like maybe we normally have. Run the football, possessions, go up 3 possessions, and then, the amount of time it'd take to be able to come back with us getting some first downs and then putting drives together, we could win the football game if we get a few first downs. However, they scored in 1 play, they scored in 2 plays, and the next thing you know, that type of way you're going to win is out the window. And again, 100% of it falls on me. It's my responsibility to get that done. Our team learned a very valuable lesson. This team is different than last year's team. They're going to have to learn the hard way at times, and they did. But it's not Brock Walker's fault, special teams wise, of missing an extra point. He kicks a field goal that's really high pressure that puts us in the position to be up 17, and did a great job all night. So never once did I doubt putting him out there, and it's unfortunate. Those things have happened and do happen, and it's unfortunate it happened to us. They learned a very valuable lesson, our entire football team, as we continue to grow. And that's all I want from this team, is to continue to grow. But we need to keep getting better.
How do you balance at this point in the season? Like you said in your press conference, it's kind of in the middle of the season, but you guys are just getting going. Working on tackling. You talked post-game with me about you worked on tackling last week. You typically do it when you have a rough game defensively. But just getting through the week, making sure everybody's healthy, making sure everybody's physically ready for the game, but also working on making those plays. What's the balancing act there as you move forward?
I think you hit it right on the head. There is no right answer, because there's balance. You tackle and you scrimmage in practice and people get hurt. You don't have them for the game. If that person's the best player, you went to the next one, then you basically just hurt your football team. That's the law of diminishing returns. And so you've got to find a way to be able to do it. We've done it in terms of our scout team, how we've been able to run our scout team. We've put like our 2s going against our 1s, but our 2s playing as the scout team, where there's maybe a little bit better look, bigger guys. Our guys are swarming to the ball a lot more. I thought today's practice went really well, because remember, we practiced Monday, and then we also practiced Wednesday. Tuesday's the off day this week for voting. So we got a lot to work at, though, and this wasn't just going to happen overnight. And I love our fight. I love our way our guys are competing. It's just we're not making enough plays right now, and it's hard. And look around the country. There's a lot of defense. There's a lot of points being scored. It's not just the Minnesota Golden Gophers. It's everywhere. It's in the SEC. It's with Alabama. So I mean, and especially you can benefit if you're an older defense. If you're a younger defense, and inexperienced, it's going to be harder to play that catch up, that 6-7 months that you missed to develop that. You got a lot of other things to get better at too, with scheme as well. So our guys are in the right position. Just got to get them to make the play, and that's what we've been working on.
Yeah, and how deep do you go 2 weeks in? The sample size is relatively small. The stats obviously don't favor things that are happening on defense in terms of, as you mentioned, guys are in position. So is it a scheme thing? Is it a skill thing? Is it, hey, we need to try different guys in different spots? Or is it, as you said, these guys are young and we're going to have to take some lumps here? I mean, whereas, I'm sure there's kind of a balance as a coach that you have to tap dance through here.
Yeah, the word for both of you is balance. We have to do both. We have to understand. I said this before. Remember, I went back and said this, right? I said, there's going to be things that happen this year that are maybe not so good for this year, but are going to be really good for the years to come. And not that you're making those to sacrifice just right now for later, but you're forced into it. And this is what I'm talking about. So we're going to play a lot more players, guys. We're going to play a lot. You're going to see a rotation. You're going to see a lot more guys play, which I think is going to help us now. But I also think it's going to help us later. And again, think about our offensive line, right? Think about where we are with that. I mean, we ran the ball for however many yards, and we've been running the ball on teams we've played. We're basically missing 3 starters, right? So when you're looking at that, but they have experience. They've at least been together for a while, and this is the year that kind of shows really your strengths are really your strengths, and you can see them, and it's glaring. And maybe your deficiencies are even more glaring as well too. And I'm not talking about just us. I'm talking about everybody in the country. But again, what's happening now is going to not only help us tomorrow, it's going to help us in the future years. And you've got to be willing to do some of that. This is a developmental program, guys. Okay. I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where it's, okay, we just graduated seniors and there's a senior at every position ready to play right behind that person, right? That can play like the person that just left. There's that development that takes place. And if you look at the development programs with cultural sustainability, that's what happens at times. And there's no excuse for losing. We got to be better. We're not happy we lost. Nobody's happy. Nobody accepts it. There's zero tolerance for it. But we have to learn and grow. And if that's part of this growing process to get us to where we need to be, that it's worth it. It's not wanted, but there's value to it.
One of the biggest words in your program is response. And I'm curious, when you have younger guys or inexperienced guys, is it more difficult for them to kind of understand, like, hey, we made a mistake on this last drive, just get out there, remember your assignment, remember what you're supposed to do, and go play fast, go play with confidence, as opposed to an older guy like Tanner? We know Tanner makes a mistake, He forgets about it and just moves on like in a second. With the younger guys, though, maybe they haven't been through the process or the program as much. Do you have to watch how those younger guys respond to a mistake or not making the play that they were in position for?
100%. Yeah, you guys are really smart.
Told you we were ready to go this week. We're ready.
I tell you guys are on point today.
Got my coffee.
You're exactly right. You only gain confidence by experience, and you gain confidence by failing and looking at it as growth, and then having success when you do something right. But when you don't have the data yet, it's hard to know what you can do to respond to it. So we have some young guys that fail and they want to grow, but if they keep making a mistake that might not be the same mistake, but make another mistake, it's hard to sit there and say, I'm the best player on the field. I have the confidence. I have this response mechanism to go back in there and do it. You've got to synthetically create that for them. And some of the younger guys are being a little bit more coach-led. The older guy, Tanner's player-led. He's led by us, but he's a player-led guy. But if you think back 3 years ago to Tanner, or you think 3 years back to Mo, I mean, those guys made mistake after mistake after mistakes. You're scratching your head. Is this guy the guy? What? There's a lot of guys on defense like that right now. But again, it breeds well for where we're headed. And it's that type of, it's a hard year. Doesn't mean you can't win. I mean, we create every game as a one-game championship season, and we're still doing that. It's a huge championship game against Illinois. And this year in the Big Ten, anybody can beat anyone, as you can see. And everyone has different issues every week, and sometimes they affect them more than others. And that's just part of what 2020's brought us. If you could predict what 2020's bringing, I mean, good, more power to you.
On defense, too, there is kind of a mix of where your veteran guys are in spots maybe where they don't have an impact every play, like a linebacker or a rush defensive end like a Coughlin, where you've got St. Just, as a returning veteran, and Coney Durr, and they're very good, but they might not have an impact every play. And Jordan Howden too. Really, those are your three guys that are back. How do you think they're playing, and how much does that impact that they're not in a spot where linebackers in on every play, a nose tackle's in on every play, a rush end is in on every play, and those are all spots where there's not a lot of experience.
Part of this is going through it before, right? Knowing what's coming. And, I know that everybody, in the media, with all due respect, right, says like they see something on paper and they think it should be this. But as a head coach, you know exactly what you're probably going to get. And you know what the issues are that are coming your way, especially in 2020. We all know that. But sometimes when you're a veteran player and you're surrounded by inexperienced players, what happens is you try to do everybody else's job. And then you're helping more. And then you're not as focused on just doing your job. Antoine Winfield, he could do his job. Jordan Howden could do his job. Nobody had to worry about somebody else's job. But when somebody's having a hard time with their job, as a leader, you want to naturally help them. And again, sometimes that can take away from even your performance. But I think the older guys are learning that. They're learning about making sure when they're out there, they're more vocal, but not doing someone else's job. Stick to your job. And I think we have a little bit of that going on, which I appreciate. It's not something that I don't appreciate. I mean, somebody helping someone else, I appreciate, but do your job. And I think that's part of them learning how to be able to lead through times like this as well.
Well, if I remember correctly, that was kind of what Joe Rossi said when he got the interim job in the Purdue game that week. He basically said, everybody just worry about what you're supposed to do and we'll figure out the rest. How have you seen him kind of navigate here in the last couple of days and even the last couple of weeks, trying to get these issues fixed and these things resolved?
Well, that's the major thing is this isn't an overnight fix. I mean, if you're expecting an overnight fix, this isn't an overnight fix. Can it get better? Yes. It's not an overnight fix. I mean, schematically, we've worked on a lot of things that maybe we weren't as good at last year that we're better at now. But as you can see, it's a player's game, and everything starts with me, right? And I'm in control of the roster. And the losses are my fault, no one else's at all. And so, but I think Joe Rossi's a better coach than he's ever been. But again, we're in the right position. We're making it very simple for our players to be in that position. And we're doing it in a creative way where everybody can have success, but then we got to go make the play. And we just got to be better. But I think Joe Rossi is one of the smartest coaches I've ever been. I mean, I've never questioned that one bit, and I never will question that. He's done an amazing job with our defense, an amazing job of getting guys to play so hard. But again, we just have to get better, and that sometimes that takes a little bit of time. And I know that's frustrating, but what isn't frustrating in 2020?
Indeed. Well, let's take our first break. We'll come back. We'll continue to break this down. We'll look ahead to this weekend. Minnesota takes on Illinois, heading back to PJ Fleck's home state on Friday, travel day, Saturday. The game will take air at 12:30, 2:30 will be the kickoff. Onward for Business, presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors, wanting to be on your team when you buy or sell a business. Onward for Business is the one-stop shop for buying or selling your business and for payroll, insurance, bookkeeping, and more. Onward, Sunbelt Business Advisors, proud to sponsor Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck. Stay with us. It is Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. It's segment 2 of Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck, Grimm and Gaard, along with the head coach PJ Fleck. And we were breaking down some of the things that happened on Friday night, and not to continue down maybe necessarily a negative road, but I did want to ask Coach, knowing that things were going to maybe be a little bit tricky defensively without without many of the starters back, and knowing you had inexperienced guys, I think what some people might say is, yeah, but we didn't think there'd be 10 plays of 20 yards or more, or 600 plus yards of offense against. How do you stop or help prevent those chunk plays, those explosive plays that we saw where a couple of times guys went a long ways before a hand was on them?
Well, yeah, that's what we have to be able to fix, whether it's a person in the wrong position, eyes in the wrong spot, or a tackling issue. That's what you have to fix. I mean, it's not like I want that to happen,
right?
And don't ever don't ever feel bad asking me you guys can ask me any question you want. Don't sit there and go down negative road, or not to go back to the negative road. You have questions, ask them. I mean, that's your guys' job. I'm here to answer them. We have things that we have to correct and we have to fix. There's people asking Bill Belichick a lot of questions right now. I mean, it's part of the nature of football. It's part of what 2020 is about. We were getting a lot of questions even last year about why didn't you score enough? Why didn't you score more than that? But again, this is part of what we knew going into this year would be an issue. You don't want to put up 700 yards of defense yards against you. Nobody wants that. And neither do the kids, but it all falls on my shoulders that I'm not going to take a shortcut way of protecting something to make sure it's 500 yards instead of 700 yards and still lose. We're going to play the next people that are going to develop and get them better so we can have a really good football team this year, somehow, some way, win or lose, and then into the future.
You talked to go ahead,
Has it surprised you a little bit though? Did you think that you might be better defensively earlier? Was this something that you thought this might, I mean, you knew you'd have issues, but did you think it would be maybe what you've seen here?
Well, I don't know if you always know. You don't know. You don't know until you play. I didn't know South Dakota State and us would be that close last year. I couldn't sit there and predict we would have beat Wisconsin the way we did 2 years ago. I wouldn't have sat there and said I knew exactly how the Georgia Tech game was going to unfold and how many yards we'd have. You never know, but you do know your deficiencies, and you do everything you possibly can to protect those deficiencies. And we've had people in positions to make plays, and they haven't. There's been times we haven't had people in positions, and that falls on me. And so, again, that's why the rotation of people. You think you have the right people in the right spot, and maybe you think they're ready for that moment, and you believe in them, but they got to believe in themselves too. And then you find out in 2 games if they are or not, and then you make changes from there, and you just keep putting pieces of the puzzle together. It's very different than last year that you knew that. Like, we knew the pieces to that puzzle, right? And we knew the pieces to the puzzle on offense. And there's going to be times that comes together again, right? Whether it's this year, whether it's next year, whether it's every other year, whether it's every 2 years, it's going to happen, but it just doesn't come together like that all the time. And if you look back at any person that's been somewhere for a very long time, maybe besides the top 5 places in the country, there's a lot of that at times. And you think you know what you have, but then you got to go out and play and see it, and then find out for yourself. But nobody, I mean, me being the most, I don't want that many yards against us either. That's not what we're known for. That's not what we do. But there's an issue there, and we know the issue. We've identified the issue, and we got to find a way to make those issues better, and we will.
You mentioned in the first segment finishing games maybe differently than you have in the past, because when you go up 17, I know what I'm thinking. You know, I've seen this game before a lot, whether it's the Wisconsin game a couple of years ago, whether it's Auburn, where you get up those 3 scores and you just go on a long drive to finish the game. What do you think you learned through that stretch of the fourth quarter that you'll take forward with you when you do get in that situation again and you're trying to finish the game on offense?
Well, I think this year it might have to be a little bit more, you might have to be a little bit more open to throwing the ball in certain situations, and that falls on me. That is 100% my responsibility. But again, like I said, that you don't know till you know. I don't know how this particular team's going to finish a game like that until they don't finish the game, right? And if you look back at it, and it's not a 1-play score and a 2-play score,
right? It's
different. Hopefully we'll get our specialists back at some point where I feel very comfortable in our kicking game. And the clock is a little bit different based on the specialists, maybe that we didn't have in the past, but there's going to be new ways. But the philosophy, I don't think will ever change of how I feel of going to end a game. There's going to be times that we do. I mean, that's gut wrenching. It's truly gut wrenching because it's, and I'm glad you notice it because it's not us. We've built an identity for you to expect something, which I love, and we didn't do it. But that's why you play the game. There's also times where people built a tendency against us, and we found ways to be able to break that we did that back to them. And you got to give Maryland a lot of credit for that. But again, our offense identified it, took 100% responsibility for it, knows what we have to do in the future. But again, I have to be better, and I might have to be a little more open to some other things. But the philosophical part of me is who I am as a head coach. But you have to adapt in some of those and maybe tweak it a little bit.
What's the communication like with Coach Sanford and even Coach Simon as you're going through that fourth quarter? because you guys are learning each other as well. Coach Simon, obviously, you guys know each other well, but Coach Sanford maybe has an idea of this is what I would do. And at the end of the day, it is the head coach's call and kind of the philosophy, maybe not the plays that are called, but what was that communication like the other night?
Yeah, like I said, there's 100% my responsibility to be able to manage that game and to let them be able to know what we're doing. And I did. And again, that's not Mike and Matt's fault. That's my fault. Those guys did a great job. What a great game plan they had. And again, we look back on it, as you guys say, hindsight, probably could have done some other things a little bit differently. But again, the way the game unfolded and how it looked and where we got to, it seemed, like you said, like a game that tendency wise, and we're in position to do what we can do, but Maryland had other plans, and they didn't allow that to happen. And we didn't dictate that. We didn't dictate what's going to happen. We got to let it happen. It got taken back to us. And we had to find that out. And I had to find that out, because every time you play, you find out what kind of team you are. And when we've done that, we didn't have a chance to do that in the Michigan game. Mm-hmm. We had a chance to do it here, and this team showed that maybe we might have to be a little bit different. I had to be a little bit different, I should say.
Well, and people who might suggest that you guys got conservative. I mean, you scored 31 straight points basically by handing the ball off to Muhammad Ibrahim. So why would you necessarily think you should try something different, right, at that point? I mean, maybe, I think you even mentioned in your news conference, maybe the 3rd and 3 play there toward the end you could do differently. But you scored 31 straight points by handing the ball off to Muhammad Ibrahim. He had 207 yards. It isn't like he had 4 yards and you're trying to bang your head against the wall all night long.
Yeah, I wouldn't know if I would say conservative, because as JG said, right, we have a tendency, like you said, I thought I knew what was going to happen, because whether you call it conservative, whether you call it time management, whether you call it, go find a way to go keep the clock, get first downs going, when you're winning, it looks right. And when you don't do it, and that stands out to all of our fans, that it didn't work.
But it
didn't work for one of the first times in a long time. And that's hard, right? Because then you say, well, you got too conservative, but whatever the word people want to use with it, you're going to do what you can to win the football game. And that gives credit to Maryland. And they didn't allow us to do that. And we didn't perform. And so, again, but those are the things you have to take in, because this team might not be able to do what the last year's team did. And that's what you're finding out. And you don't have games, the non-conference games and leading into conference play to find out what all that is. It's right now, go. And so hindsight's always 20/20, but you can't have hindsight without it being over. I mean, you can't have it. You got to go through it and experience it, and then you make different changes as you move forward.
And even then you could say, well, maybe running was still the right answer. Maybe we let Tanner keep it for the first time all night, or maybe we do a toss sweep and try an outside zone. And maybe, obviously the outcome isn't what you want, but running still might have been the answer. At the end of the day, it's a small one-play sample size in that situation.
Well, it's a one play sample size. It didn't work. And so it's a bad call, and that falls on me. But you also want to be able to have, stops. And you expect when you're doing that to be able to have stops or have people put longer drives together than just one play. Because if people score within one play or two plays, the clock management doesn't matter. It doesn't come into play. So, but our offense understands the responsibility of finishing games, finishing drives. And this is what this team has to learn, because you're gaining knowledge all the time. We're gaining experience. We know what it's like to do it. We know what it's like not to do it. We didn't do it at Penn State. And nobody goes back and talks about the Penn State. We didn't do it on offense at Penn State. Right. And I don't think we got that conservative, right? If anything, I think we threw it and it didn't work. And then defense had to go win the game. So there's times like Wisconsin 2 years ago. And then there's times like Auburn. So we'll always find a way to be able to do it the best we can. And I obviously didn't get the job done. And that falls 100% on me.
All right, let's take another break. We'll have segment 3 coming up. Stay with us. Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck is sponsored by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota, the #1 health plan for Medicare in the state. It's Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck from Learfield. I am G. Collins. Welcome back. Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck, Mike Grimm, and Justin Gaard with you. Minnesota and Illinois this Saturday, 2:30 the kickoff. We'll take air at 12:30 here all across the great state of Minnesota on the Gopher Radio Network. Coach, we talked about Muhammad Ibrahim and what a great game he had, 42 carries, 207 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think the last time a Gopher had 4 touchdowns and a half, it was our Darryl Thompson against Bowling Green in the second half back in like 1989 or something, 88, somewhere back there. So obviously a lot of accolades. A week ago on this show, you told us, I think he had 26 carries in game one, and you said that was a couple too many. And so my question now is, did he get?
I was bluffing.
Did he get an extra hot tub or a cold bath or what have you? And what is your plan maybe this week as you maybe let his body recuperate for the game at Illinois?
True story. I went to the training room the other day, and he's sitting there and he's getting his feet massaged by one of our trainers. And I usually go in there like, "What are you doing?" And that one I said, "Hey, keep it going. Make sure you actually, add 10 minutes to the massage. We got to get these feet going." You know what? That's a lot of carries. And that is, I mean, but again, you got Bryce Williams, who wasn't available for the game. And then you got two freshmen behind him, who I think are going to be great players, guys. These guys are going to be great players. But in a game like that tight, and what you're doing and the type of mentality I have of what I want to go with, we had to rely on Mo. Did he get as many reps today in practice? Absolutely not. Tomorrow he's going to vote and then get massages again, but that's Mo. You couldn't tell Mo had that many carries. He wanted more. And I kept asking him, "You all right?" He's like, "Absolutely." And it wasn't like I was convincing him to say, yeah, that's Mo. He wants to be in the game, and that's what makes him so good. But this week we've been really careful with him of bringing back some of that down. But yes, I think it's too many carries, but not in a bad way. Like, I regret it. I don't regret it one bit. But I do think Trey Potts, and I do think Bryce Williams, and I do think Cam Wiley are all going to be really good backs, and they deserve other carries. But when they go in the game, remember, I got to take, I think one of the top three backs and maybe in the country out of the game.
Right. And
to put a guy in there who's gaining experience. And in a team that you're surrounded by gaining experience, there's this lovely, like, cloudy blanket, right? That surrounds you as a head coach. Like, oh, well, there's Mo, like he's the one guy, exactly what you're going to get, right? It's like having Tanner or having like Blaze Andrews and so when I think you're surrounded by that in other areas, it maybe enhances your confidence in someone else a little bit more and your security with someone else a little bit more. But that's what I got to be able to. If I'm going to do that on defense, I got to do that on offense too.
Well, and that makes sense because I feel like, and I think we've talked about it at halftime, there's such a pressure right now on the offense to match and to score and even in the first half to keep you in the game. So it makes sense that you're going to go with your most reliable guy, where if you can't afford maybe a freshman mistake on offense, because they're the ones right now that have to keep you going.
Well, there's a lot of freshman mistakes going on defense. So when I see that, I don't want that happening, but it's going to happen. If you don't pay the price of that now, I mean, when are you going to pay it? And I'm not saying at all that it's the year to do that, but like I said, it's not a choice. You're going to be forced into making those decisions that not only are going to benefit right now, but maybe don't benefit from the viewer's point of view, but they're going to benefit internally. And then next year, it's going to definitely show and to the viewer and inside the program. So that's what I meant when I said this 2 weeks ago, before we even played a game, that there's going to be decisions that you're forced into that maybe you don't want to make, but you have to make, that are going to maybe make us a little uncomfortable right now, but are better for now and then, because it's the position we're all put in. And look, it's 2020. I mean, Mo could be or could not be available for the game this weekend. Right. And all of a sudden now you have to do it. So that's what makes this so challenging. And finding out before the game that people are available and not available, whether that's coaches or players, I've never seen anything like it. And everybody's dealing with the same thing. But again, like I said, everybody's situation is different of where you are as experience on your team. And we've benefited by our offense having more experience. Our defense not having the experience. Some people benefit on both. Some people benefit on another side.
Well, on Trey Potts, he had two really nice runs that I remember. One along Maryland's sideline, I think on your final drive where you scored in regulation. And then one basically right in front of your bench that I talked about where he stiff-armed a guy in the backfield and then went down the right sideline. And it was fun, Coach, to watch your receivers watch him kind of get the first guy out of the way and then snap forward and say, this guy's loose. We got to go help this guy out a little bit. He looks to be pretty explosive in the limited time that we've seen him. What do you like about him?
I love everything about him. I love that he's from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, Little League World Series. I love that. I love his family. He's got one of the most selfless families you'll ever meet. This is a young man who's incredibly competitive, wants to be the best, is an unbelievable teammate, selfless, and a wonderful studier of the game. And you talk about wherever Mo goes, Trey's on his hip. This is a young man that's going to be a household name for the Minnesota Golden Gophers for a long time. And the hard thing about this year is our fans don't get a chance to get to know these guys. That's what I love about college football. That's what I love about practices and training camps and spring ball and the spring signings and get our players being out in the community is for our people, our fans to get to know these guys. I mean, Trey Potts is one of the coolest people we have on this team. And he is extremely explosive. That young man's going to have an incredible career. So again, there's a little sacrifice right now that I think a lot of people are feeling and may be frustrated, but it's coming. It's going to be a lot of fun soon.
Guards, you mentioned those receivers excited to block downfield. Chris Ottman-Bell had two really good catches again, one right on the goal line and one in the end zone to go along with the catch he had against Michigan. So he's been being a big play guy as he was a year ago with his 5 touchdowns and some key third down plays last year. He went up in traffic in both those key plays. What are you seeing from Chris Ottman-Bell?
Confidence, leadership. He's gotten bigger in the offseason. He's one that committed to his body, committed to his health. He's gotten a lot more opportunities. I think he's been able to understand his role and accepted his role. He has an understanding of spatial awareness better than he ever has, and he deserves the opportunities that he's getting. And he's making a ton of plays for us, which help because as you can see, there's a lot of people putting most of their defensive attention in the pass game towards zero.
Yeah, and when to follow up on that, when you know that however they're shifting the defense, whether it's bracket or double or shading a safety or what have you, and obviously Friday was a little different because the running game was working so well. I know people will say, oh well, Rashad only had 4 targets and his average per catch last year was 21 and it's like 11 this year, but him just being there creates things for other people. I think I said this before the season when I was doing some interviews with different stations that it's likely Rashad won't have the same stats he did last year, but the offense could be better and he can impact the offense in even more ways, right? I mean, in the sense that he's shifting so much attention to him, it does free things up for the run game or for Muhammad Ibrahim or for Colt Keefe to catch a touchdown.
We played 13 games last year. I know one thing's happening. We will not play 13 games this year. That's a fact, right? So I'm not sure what the comparisons are from this year to last year. We're a different football team. We've shown that. It's a different year, different football team. We had Chris, Tyler, and Rashad last year, plus a running game. There were times where Rashad didn't have many catches last year as well. Then there was times he exploded for huge games. Same with our running game. We're going to do what it takes to win. And Rashad is an ultimate team player. So he doesn't matter. He's a competitor. He wants the ball like anybody else. But there's going to be certain things we have to do to win the football game. We didn't win the football game, but we did everything we could. We thought at that particular time to go win a game. But again, it's people comparing what happened this year to last year and why I think that's not fair to do at all, especially in a COVID year of 2020. That's not even close. That's comparing apples and oranges. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. From especially the pandemic, what these young people have been through, whether it's good or bad. I don't think that's fair whatsoever. I think he's doing everything he can to be the best player he can be. He's getting better. But just because he only had 4 targets, I mean, we're always going to target him. We're always going to find a way to get him the football. But we're going to do what it takes to win the football game. And Rashad Bateman's an unbelievable teammate. And, he knows that the times are going to come where he has 4 targets. And then there's going to be a time he has 30 targets. I mean, that's the normal ebb and flow of a season.
Well, and he had 9 catches against Michigan, and I did see somebody say, well, he was held in check, and I'm like, well, 9 catches is 90 for the season. That's such a school record, so I don't know if 9 catches is holding anybody in check, right? I mean, it's weird how some people, have this.
I think you need to follow different people, Grimmer. I think that's your problem. I think you need to pay attention to different people.
I think it was you that tweeted.
I heard this the other day. It was great. It's just all depends on what you value.
Yeah.
Whose voice do you value? Right. And that's what you have to continue to always think about. Even our players, that's the message we give them. Value the voices that matter to you. But if you're allowing Twitter to be your voice, you're going to be a miserable person. If you're allowing somebody who doesn't know you to be your voice, you're going to be a miserable person because the criticism will always be there. And we always use LeBron James for that. I mean, we're talking about maybe the greatest basketball player of all time, and they're still saying why he's not, what he hasn't done. I mean, think about what that guy has done. Right. And it's always going to be what somebody hasn't done. That'll always be there if you have success and you're really good.
All right, we're due for a break. It's our final segment. Time flies when you're having fun here. Stay with us. It's Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. Our remaining moments with head coach PJ Fleck, Mike Grimm and Justin Gaard with you. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can catch it on demand via the Gopher podcast. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. So, Coach, it's back to your home state Saturday, the Fighting Illini, and I suppose in this year of COVID 2020, it's probably not quite the trip you're accustomed to, where maybe you'd have a few more friends and family able to come to the game. But I know winning is the thing you want, but it also gets you a chance sometimes to catch up with family. Well, what will that situation be like this weekend? Are you able to see anybody?
Heather.
That's it.
That's it. I think that's really it. I mean, that's the one thing we all have to be really careful of. And, I always love going back to the state of Illinois, where I'm from. But it doesn't matter where we're going. We're going to play a football game, and my family knows that too. It's always good to see them, but it's not like, that's the focus of everything. But I won't get a chance to see them anyway. And the way technology is these days anyway, you get a chance to be anywhere, anytime, any place with someone with FaceTime and Zoom and things like that right now. But we have a job to do. We've got a team that, is hungry to play again, and I love that about our team. So we're looking forward to the challenge.
What's different about traveling in 2020 with the road trip? You just had one?
Everything. More
Take
buses.
Us in there. Yeah.
It's like football is a game that we do everything we possibly can to bring everyone together in every instance. Kids going away for spring break drives, you get so anxious and nervous. It's like looking outside in the front yard and not seeing your kids. You got to say, okay, no big deal. 10 minutes goes by, you still haven't seen them. And now you're searching. We worry as coaches, let alone the 5 months that we didn't have them, right? And so when you start to look at even like with this football team and travel's very unique. The airplane's different. We're sending people on buses first. Then there's only a certain flight, people that get on the flight that travel. The hotel experience is completely different. The meals are completely different, but you just adapt to it. It's a new norm. It's the new now.
And as you've said a couple of weeks in a row now, you just never know. Lovie Smith, the Fighting Illini coach, found out his number 1 quarterback was out the morning of the game. Then he found out his number 2 quarterback was out the morning of the game. And then a few plays into the game, his number 3 quarterback rolls his ankle. And all of a sudden, he's playing his 4-string quarterback. And as it turns out, they end up almost winning the game at home against a pretty good Purdue team. But how does that impact you now trying to prepare for this team, not knowing for sure what you'll get? But that is kind of an example of what you've been talking about. Saturday morning could hit, and all of a sudden the game plan is going to be different than what you thought it would be.
Exactly. So you just prepare. You just prepare for every scenario, and then you give your players the best chance to go out there and win and compete. We're just thankful we're playing. We're thankful we have an opportunity to go out and play a game. We saw last week how volatile and how fragile it is with Wisconsin and Nebraska being canceled. We're just thankful we get a chance to play and get better. And I think whether we're 2-0, 0-2, 3-0, 0-3, you have to be thankful. There's so much to be grateful for this year and have gratitude towards that. If we're not doing that, it's going to be a really rough year for a lot of people. So we're doing everything we can internally to have that mentality, and whoever plays, we'll be prepared for and give ourselves the best opportunity to have success. We've already been thrown some certain challenges this week. So it's going to be a lot of fun as we keep moving forward.
You say that in the last 2 minutes of the show. Now we can't go over all those challenges.
No, we lost.
No, you didn't lose me. I was just kidding.
Unbelievable.
I said exactly what the challenge was. You just didn't. You didn't listen close enough. You thought I was on mute.
I'm reading lips now. I'm going back and watching it. Grimmer tries to do that every week, and we never fall for it. I can't believe we just went hook, line, and sinker on that.
Yeah,
I have to laugh. I'm just telling you. I mean, you could be mad that we're not winning games. Everybody is at me right now. I just have to at least laugh once in a while. And you guys are fun to be on a show with. So we'll get things fixed.
Axel Rushmeyer was taken out of the game, obviously, with an injury. Can you give us any update on him? And also Nathan Bowe took his spot. What'd you think of Nathan for in his career, his first extended period of playing time?
Yeah, Nathan was the 9th, 10th lineman last year. And we didn't lose anybody going into this year, right? And then we lost people. And now all of a sudden he's in the, he's working into the starting lineup. So I was really happy with him going in there and playing. He's got to play better. He knows that. There's a lot for him to get better at. But he did a really good job, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us to get through this year, and everybody's going to get a chance to grow and get better, and that's what's exciting about it. And that's my message to my team. That's my message to our staff. That's been my message since day one. That's my message to the fans and the people who really understand what's going on in college football and student athletes this year and know how challenging all that is. Axel, we'll find out.
And back to Nathan for a moment, I did want to mention that I noticed he had tweeted out a couple of weeks ago his mom is going through a battle with cancer. I know she got some notes from the team, and so sometimes people forget too what it's not just football for these guys, and not just class, and not just they have their own family struggles. And the good news is she's doing well, it sounds like, and that's good news. But it's a lot going on for a lot of these young men.
It is, and we even tell them there's no excuses. Nobody's looking for excuses around here of why we haven't won a game. No, nobody, not coaches, not me, not players, but there's reasons, and you have to fix the reasons. And you're doing everything you can as fast as you can, as efficiently as you can, and as smart as you can to fix those issues without sacrificing the entire culture and program. And we're going to continue to serve and give and be there for people and give them hope. That's what Row the Boat's all about. Row the Boat's not about just rowing on a nice 85-degree day with no waves, with no wind. That's not what Row the Boat's all about. There's a part of it, but it's not all of it. When you have really rocky times and really hard times in your life, you got to keep your oar in the water and just keep rowing the boat. And we're 2 games into this thing. We're still collecting data on this football team. And I've got to be better. But when you look at our team, still looking at things in society and looking at things with their own family, a lot of issues are going on. Think about everybody, how hard this is. COVID, social injustice, everything, people losing jobs, people having all that. And then you're also a student with the pressure of football on top of all that, and then all their own personal issues with their family and the scrutiny they have to take. It's just a difficult, it's very difficult. And mental health's always been a huge part of our program, always will be. Our players are constantly being advised to, if you need us, you need mental health, you need Dr. Carly, you need Dr. Anderson, which we've done for 4 years, please use them because it's that type of year. This is a year to get better, to grow, to learn, not just on the field, but off the field as well. And we're going to continue to do that, and we're not going to let COVID stop that.
Well, very good. And a win, I know Saturday would be a nice boost to everybody, that's for sure. And I know that's your goal. So we'll look forward to seeing you in Champaign on Saturday.
We want to get better. That's what we'll continue to do.
All right, very good. He's the head coach. Justin, good to see you. We'll talk to you Saturday as well.
Can't believe Coach got us on that. I'm really disappointed in myself. Really, I got to be bad. I was good the whole show, and I blew it there at the end. I'm going to be better next week.
I actually said the challenge, and you missed it.
Well, I'll watch it. I'll read lips. I can't hear very well. I'm a good lip reader, so I'm gonna check it out later.
Yeah, Gaard, you can't hear anything, so people wearing masks now, he's struggling because he
terrible.
can't lips. So
it's terrible.
It's like that YouTube thing: turkey, turkey, duck, 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 turkey, turkey. The one with Jason Garrett. You know, the people that do the voice.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I'm feeling right now. All right, Grimmer, be good.
Yes, sir. We have to go. This has been Gopher Football Weekly with PJ Fleck from Learfield, IMG College.